we have heard cases about service design. I just want to ask one question. How many of you understand the difference between service design and design thinking? Can anybody volunteer to say? Or is there any difference at all? Would you like to say?
I think design thinking is the methodology. Service design is generally the topic that you're applying design thinking to today.
Absolutely, I think you got it right. That's why you're in the front row. So these terms are interchangeably used. Design thinking, service design, user-centered design, human-centered design, and there is a lot of even myth or mystery around it because this is an emergent phenomena, so as to say, globally. So as you said, design thinking is basically the core, the principles, and when you apply it to design services, that's service design. And it took us like 5 years to figure that out. All right.
10.
Sorry.
10 years.
10 years. Okay. At core of it, design thinking or service design, it's about being human-centered. And if you take frills out of any business, not just healthcare, if you take out, say, a manufacturing company, and we have been working with such companies as well, eventually we are all about humans are doing something for humans, even in technology business. So being human-centered, we feel is not a choice, it is the imperative now. And a lot of companies, like they have been applying innovation in their companies, and this is a case we are working with a very large multinational. McKinsey had come up and set up a innovation process for them. And one of the outcomes of that innovation process was to come up with a new service, product-based service. And their target was to have 40,000 units or 40,000 customers being served in 1 month, and they were able to serve 10. So this is a very big gap, and that's when kind of we got in touch with them, and they hired us, and we realized they were following the process correct. No, they were following the process, but not correctly. And that's where this human-centered design comes to enrich the existing processes. So, as I think Ram also said earlier, that it's design thinking is like a salt. It is not something that you impose on it, but you apply it to what you're doing, like in your day-to-day work. So it kind of strengthens the management framework. So in this case, they were applying this design thinking process. They were, of course, going out and generating insights. They were also doing co-creation. Then they were also giving some solutions to build to designers. But it was all happening in silos. The designer was not the one who was going to do research in the beginning. So they completely missed the point, and that's why whatever service they came up with, that eventually didn't work. So at core of human-centered design, there are 3 things. I think all of you know, but I just wanted to kind of bring each one of us today at the same page. It is about empathy, gaining empathy through deep user research. And this user research is different than normal research, as has been highlighted earlier by Peter and Saku and Raima, that you generate quick hypotheses after like 5-6 interviews, and there is a Stanford study on that you gain 85% of the insights after 5 deep in context interviews. So you can choose to kind of do 100 more people to gain 15% of the insights, or you can choose to create a quick hypothesis, which is in the form of a visual prototype, and Yako and I in Station C will share that with you, how you can create a hypothesis out of an idea, and then use that hypothesis, that prototype, quick rapid prototype, to generate more user insights. Because when you show something physical or some visual to a person, you'll be able to conduct better research. So that is about empathy. And co-creation, then we all know, like, how do we involve customers to create solutions. And what happens in companies in co-creation is also sometimes mistook as, oh, let's get all of our different departments and bring them and then co-create. Not just that, you have to bring your customers as well. So it is not just when we work, we don't just work with clients, but customers of the clients as well. And then iterative, it has to iterate. I think this is not just a Singapore phenomena, it's everywhere. When a kid is growing up and kid asks, can I do this? Parent says, cannot. You know, when you grow up and in school you want to do this or that, you hear cannot. And then when you grow up, when I start to go to college, it was no, take aeronautics engineering, not arts, that's fluffy, not go to SOTA, go there. Yeah? So you here again cannot. And then this same person grows up, and this is the story of all of us. When you go to work and you're asked be innovative, you say cannot. So this I've adapted from Bernard Harrison. He had made a presentation on this in 2008. Bernard Harrison from Singapore Zoo. So this illustration is created by one of our colleagues. So innovation or design thinking is about mindset of can. How can we be comfortable with ambiguity? How can we be comfortable with taking risks? Not unabashed risks, but calculated risks. And this is what iteration teaches us to do. So whenever we start in workshops or in organizations, we go to develop a capability program or even consulting projects, we start to explain design thinking or service design from known reference points. So what is a known reference point before design thinking? It was innovation, and people knew about innovation. And then before that it was creativity. So generally we start with innovation. The design thinking is a human-centered or user-centered approach to innovation. Then question comes, what is innovation? We have been conducting workshops in different countries. Japan innovation meaning is very different than what it is in Vietnam, and then what it is in India. So we wanted to bring people to same level of understanding of innovation. But I would also like to ask you a question. What kills innovation? Maybe I'll share the definition of innovation first, how I see it. Very simple. Innovation is creation of an offering which is new not to the whole world, but new to your context. So you can steal. It should make things better, not like bombastically better, but even if they make things a little bit better, what you're doing now, that is innovation as well. And eventually it has to be viable in some form, in monetary forms or otherwise. So innovation is creation of something new, better, and viable. When you have this definition of innovation, it becomes quite agnostic to industry. So it can be applied as much in Ministry of Healthcare, to a hospital, to a big steel company. This definition also becomes, it makes also innovation or design thinking agnostic to different functions. It can be applied to design a service or to design a communication, as Sarko said. It also becomes hierarchy agnostic. If you can build your strategy sitting in the boardroom, bit better with it, it can be applied there, and it can also be applied in last mile service. How you're in food business, how you're treating your end customer in hospitals as well. And it is also culture or nation agnostic in a way. It is being applied in Finland, and we delivered like 2 weeks ago a talk in Berlin. It worked there as well. We've been doing this in Japan and Vietnam. It works there as well. So now my question again: what kills innovation in organizations? I think I want to ask you now again, maybe this side. What kills innovation? Sorry, there you go. What kills innovation in organizations?
If you touch a person too much, or if you don't have an atmosphere for bold discussions.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? What kills innovation? You can shout. Sorry? Resistance to change, yeah? What else? Risk aversion, yeah. So, actually, I can go on. There are a lot of, where's my clicker? There are a lot of innovation killers, but what we have done is we have tried to kind of categorize them in 3 easy categories so that we can all remember them. I think the first innovation killer is myopia. Myopia is nearsightedness. You're not able to see far. And when you do that, you exclude a lot of solutions that could have been better solutions. Another innovation killer, or a lot of innovation killers that can be put in this category, is monkey mind. And this comes because of a pattern thinking. You can make sense that I have to wear this because I'm going for a conference, and when I sleep I wear shorts, and this is a mic, not a carrot, I don't eat it, I use it to speak. This is pattern thinking, yeah? But this thinking, when you're presented with new problems, becomes a problem. Because then you also start to pattern match and you're not able to think of new things. And I call it monkey mind because we tend to jump into very quick solutions. Oh, we two are smart guys, we can think of a solution and that's it. We don't go out, as Rama said, innovation doesn't happen in rooms or workshop rooms, it happens in the field. You need to go out. And this is also a result of this expert thinking or group think, yeah? That my boss is an expert and he has said, rest nobody else speaks. Or the group thinks like that, nobody else speaks. And when one monkey jumps, everybody else jumps. And this happens in organizations. Yeah? So I'll ask you a very good question. What is 1/2 of 13? It's a very simple question. You can shout it out like, I won't bring the mic now. 6.5. Yeah, very good. You're an IT software person. Yeah, you're an engineer. What else? What is 1/2 of 13?
Not much.
Not much. All right. I think I'll be quick because there is time limit. So, of course, this is the answer. Yeah. And we know this answer from the way we have grown up from the known paradigms, from knowledge, experience, education. Yeah? And this is how we see all problems. We just see it from one perspective. And this was, in school you're taught 1/2 of 13 is this, 6.5, because you're thinking in digits. But if you think visually, this could be an answer as well. And if you think like this, 4 could be an answer as well. If you think like this, can you think of another answer? What is the answer? Yeah, another one. You got it like this. So the point here is that there are infinite perspectives to any problem or any situation. So at least look at a problem from more than one perspective. And we say human perspective is the most strong. Yeah? And we also talk about empathy, but empathy not just for the user. At least start with 3 perspectives. Perspective for the user, perspective for the CEO, because the solution has to make a business case, and perspective for your staff, people who are going to deliver that. Yeah? So this could be just 3 perspectives, but there could be more. Third innovation killer is inertia. As you said, risk. You know there is a solution, but you're not able to implement because it may not work, we may lose money, so on and so forth. So, and not just people, large organizations who have all the wherewithal, all the resources, best talent in the world, they suffer from this. What do you see here? Yeah, there is an old Nokia, this Ericsson phone. Yeah? So this solved a problem of utility. Earlier you had to go to phone to take a call. Now you can take that whole brick along with you. Yeah? This was working till the time, and that's why innovation is a continuous process. This was working till the time this guy didn't come. And they said,
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, Richard, I knew it. It's still in 100, And they came up, and they didn't just look at, and they were neighbors, one was Swedish and the other one was. They looked at that it is not just about utility, it's also about usability that users are looking for. But they missed another trend. Anybody Canadians here? Okay. They missed another trend that people, and this is also about spotting trends and spotting the weak signals. The behavior of people was changing. They were moving away from desktops to laptops and they were carrying their mails along. Nokia could see it. This guy saw it. But they again missed another point that we are greedy human beings. We want more in one device. And but I don't know what happens next because Apple has also stopped now. So we become victims of our own boxes. Yeah? That's what stops innovation. So 3 innovation killers for you as a takeaway: myopia, lack of imagination, monkey mind jumping into solutions, inertia, fear of failure. Now, if there are, I call them maladies. Yeah, this myopia, monkey mind, and inertia. If there is a malady, there has to be an antidote. An antidote is very simple. And this is what we have based our design thinking or service design framework on. You have to learn to look at things differently from multiple perspectives, in this case human perspective or 3-way empathy. You have to learn to think about solutions differently, and you have to learn to make solutions differently. How? So, can we examine the problem from different perspectives, as I said earlier? And mostly from human perspective, just look how problem looks so different. We have to change negative scenarios to positive ones, and we have to learn to make things differently by co-creating with the user and iterating. And again saying, service design or innovation doesn't happen in boardrooms or in workshops. It happens out in the field, where you create hypothesis, test hypothesis, generate more insights, and then go on and build solutions. So very simple framework we would like you to kind of take home along with you. Look, think, make. And there are 3 mindsets that you have to have in each of the stage. Whenever you're presented with a problem or you're trying to solve a problem, empathy to generate hypothesis and then use this hypothesis to generate more insights so that you can improve the hypothesis. Co-creation, co-create with the user and keep on iterating it so that to kind of fight that risk of failure. So yeah, that's about it from my side.